Thanks to the organization, to FEUGA. I'm going to continue with what my colleague Enrique was explaining. I'm going to continue explaining the context that you're going to find in this cluster number 4. And specifically, I'm going to try to explain the scope of everything related to industry within this cluster. As you see, this cluster is quite diverse because it groups different technological areas, both from the digital area, from the industry, and from space. I am the national contact point for the area of industry, and we're going to try to clarify or simplify as much as we can, although things are quite complicated, and taking into account the volume and the size of the programs, we have to try to help you in this process in order to analyze and see the details of the programs. You're going to have our contact and our team to give you support. You know where this cluster is placed from this 15,300 million for the whole program until 2027. Within the content of my presentation, I will be explaining the two destinations. I will carry out a brief analysis of the call for the presentation of applications, which was closed in the 23rd of September, and now we're going to see what awaits for us for the 30th of March 2022. This is the global structure of Cluster 4. I'm going to focus on Destiny 1 and 2, the production and twin transition, and Destination 2, everything related to digitization, resource efficiency of resources, and so on. These are the two destinations we're going to be talking about. What do we find within these blocks? In Destination 1, with this call, which is called Twin, Green, and Digital Transition, and what it wants to do is to talk about a dual digital and green transition. We're going to find the topics of manufacturing in the widest sense. We'll get into greater detail later. We also find several topics related to transformation, digitization, and so on in the area of construction. Although in Build for People, you can find this in Cluster 5. You'll find a lot more content related to construction. And then we will have everything that has to do with the processes in industry and the transformation of industrial processes. This will be all in Destination number 1. In Destination number 2 is digitized, resource-efficient, and resilient industry. We're going to find a great block which will be related to raw materials, which is a critical concept which we are realizing on a daily basis, the need of a European strategy in the area of raw materials. Also, the development of advanced materials, which we will find in applications in its development for the application of implementation of innovative technologies in mobility or energy storage and others. And then there will be a block within the area of industrial resilience, a block that includes value chains and the business, which wants to foster the support to small and medium enterprises and startups in the transformation in this digitization process so that these technologies reach the market in a more efficient way. Concerning the figures, we will remind you the figures. The first Destination 1. In Destination 1, we've already had one call, which was closed. Between the program 21 and 22, we're talking about of about 1,500 million, and in 2021 we've closed around 770 million. For 2022, we have several calls open, and that will be around 740, 750 million. In 2021, there's been a first call that closed in the 23rd of September. Then we've had a second call, which is specific for one single topic, and it's open until the 25th of January. We will get into greater detail with this. And then we have a call for 2022, which was open on the 12th of October. It is open, and the deadline is the 30th of March 2022. To talk about it one by one, we have a call until the 30th of March, which includes topics from Destination 1 and Destination 2. We have one call which is still awaiting from 2021, and it's open until the 25th of January, which is the topic 0232, Social and Affordable Housing and District Demonstrator, which is an innovation action that's remaining from 2021. And among the ones from 2022, besides the topics that are RIAs, CSEs, and others, we're going to find a specific topic related to pre-commercial purchases. This is in order to help you interpret the calls you're going to find. The analysis of the call for 2021. In twin transitions, we had 17 topics. We have received 296 applications, which is an average of more than 17 applications per topic. So it's been quite intense, and some topics, as you see in this diagram, that have received a lot of applications, even more than 40 and 50 applications, topics that are going to have well, it's difficult to get your project funded in these topics, obviously, because there's a lot of competition and there's a lot of concentration in topics from 1 to 8 that's related to the attractiveness of the part related to manufacturing, obviously. According to thematic topics, the topics of green, flexible, and advanced manufacturing have received more than 50% of the requests, and then we have the rest in the areas of digitization for manufacturing and also in the part of building. We've had less of an impact in the blocks of hubs for circularity, circularity in processes and resources for industries, and the integration of renewables and electrification. If we move on to Destination 2 in the part of resilience, this is better distributed, less concentrated. The average applications per topic is slightly above 10. There were more topics, 21 of them, and we've received 225 requests, applications. You have the accumulated application in each one of the blocks. Some are more outstanding. 01 is related to composite materials, has received many requests, or number 20 has also been quite popular. The idea of this call is that until December, usually we shouldn't have data about the assessment. Here you have it organized by blocks, and there's a bit more concentration in the area of the materials for the benefit of society and the environment. This has attracted quite a few projects, but it's pretty well distributed, better than the manufacturing part. And now we're going to move on to what we're going to find in Destination 1. Also, Davinio has already made an interesting presentation. I'm going to tell you what we're going to find and what we're looking for in the air in terms of impact in digital, green and digital transition. We're going to be working with topics that aim at transforming the processes of industrial transformation, manufacturing, in order to have a more green approach with greater digitization. Also, everything related to making the manufacturing and the construction more flexible with the integration of digital technologies. We're talking about the implementation of digital technologies, not the development of these technologies, because the development would be in the area of digital that my colleague Enrique was telling you about. And then there will be an impact on making the manufacturing jobs and construction jobs more attractive for people, giving them more opportunities, because that's always, well, it's important to focus on people. There's also a focus on supporting energy-intensive companies in order to contribute to improving the impact on the environment, and this approach on impact in the hubs for circularity. So we hope that for 2025 we have really large hubs that integrate the industrial environment with the environment of cities, and this way we can contribute to reduce the CO2 emissions and so on. And we also want to replace the fossil-based raw materials and the production of CO2. This is what we find in Destination 1. The 6 blocks in which it is organized. We have advanced manufacturing on one hand, digital manufacturing, everything related to digital transformation. We have hubs for circularity, this approach to contributing to climate neutrality through circularity in industry, and then in the area of process industries and the use of renewable energies in industrial processes. And the last block, which I've left at the bottom, which is a bit not completely related to the rest, with the area of manufacturing, which is the topic of accelerating, disrupting change in construction. This way, whoever comes from the construction industry, you can find opportunities here in building for people. What are we going to find in the 2022 call? These 334 million are distributed, as you can see in the picture. It is very important to see that we are talking about one-stage calls for destinations 1 and 2. The 2021-22 program of work has only one stage for the calls. We're going directly to the 30th of March. Here you see the distribution of the budget. We must point out that the block related to the acceleration in construction is not very relevant. It only has one topic in the second call. In total, we will be having 13 topics distributed among these 6 blocks. In order to explain the call for Destination 1, we must analyze the participation of the program partnerships. 3 of them, of the co-program partnerships, are related to this area of industry, and they include all the topics of this call, except the one for construction, obviously. Externally, outside the program, we have an institutionalized partnership in the area of metrology. We can inform you about it, but it's not really included within this work package, this work program. These three partnerships you have made in Europe. Many of you, some might know it. It's focused on the areas of manufacturing, processes for planet. It puts together all the topics related to transformation and process industries. And then we have clean steel, which is related to the topics of transformation of processes related to steel. You have the presence regarding the different topics, and in Destination 1 you see all the topics. These 6 topics are made in Europe, 4 in Process for Planet, and 2 in Clean Steel. In Processes for Planet also participates in the definition of a topic which belongs to the destination of resilience. What topics are we going to find in Made in Europe? This first block is focused on the transformation of the manufacturing sector in general, everything related to modular manufacturing, reconfigurable production, manufacturing processes for functional surfaces, distributed control. Topic 04 is related to the handling of goods, of pieces in production lines. It continues what was developed in the topics of the first call. And topics 6 and 7 are focused on the use of digital technologies, the digital transformation. Number 6 is related to innovation for manufacturing sustainability in SMEs, all this implementation of sustainable technologies and ITC technologies for small and medium-sized enterprises. And finally, we have the digitization in the area of circular economy. What do you have to take into account in these topics? In the ones that are innovation actions, in some of them you're going to find that the financing for the companies is only up to 60%, and for the rest of the entities is up to 100%. You have to take this into account in some of the topics. And in some of them, you'll find incentives for international cooperation with countries such as Korea, Japan, and Canada. So there's an incentive of cooperation with Japan, Korea, and Canada. In the part related to part called Processes for Planet, you have the topics of solid waste in urban environment, then the valorization of CO and CO2 in added value products, also topics related to electrochemical conversion, materials in process industries, the replacing of fossil fuels in the industrial applications, using hydrogen as an alternative. And there's a fifth topic in which Processes for Planet participates in the topic of resilience. In some of them, you will find this element of 60% of financing for companies. In the topic of clean steel, in this section, these innovation actions, this 60% financing for the profit entities is also applied in the area of raw material preparation and hybrid heating technologies in steel production. On the one hand, you have the raw materials in the development and transformation of steels, and also using elements of energy substitution at a hybrid and modular level to reduce consumption. In the last block, we have in Destination 1, which is a new way to build. We continue with digitization. In the call 2021, there were some elements related to digitization, the implementation of technologies for the analysis of blockchain, traceability, and so on. Now we're in this topic, we are implementing the concept of digital logbook as a platform for grouping all the traceability process of the different constructed phases in order to facilitating the digitization in the area of construction, which is a sector, an industry that is a bit slower in this digital transformation, in this automatization.
Now we are going to move to resilience industry. The expected impacts to contribute through the topics are the following. We've mentioned them in the introduction already. Everything that has to do with raw materials, to have more sustainable and safe value chains, especially in the case of critical raw materials. A second, impact on sustainable by design materials, that is, using the criteria of circularity already in the design of materials to understand their impact in the whole life cycle. Then the third impact would be to continue to the decarbonization, the use of fewer toxic materials to protect the environment. There's also an impact linked to circular economy and leadership, with elements that contribute to cross-sectorial actions and also with the participation of SMEs. The last expected impact is the adoption of key digital and enabling technologies through SMEs and startups. What are the blocks that we find here? Well, the thematic blocks that we find here are aligned with the impacts that we just mentioned. On the one hand, a big block focusing on raw materials in a broad sense, in terms of the transition to the circular economy. A second block on advanced materials. We can differentiate between greener or more sustainable materials and then materials that are thought to be necessary for the good of the society and the environment, like the electric mobility or for the use in the generation of electricity. And then there's another one focusing on the modelization of these materials, the creation of networks that allow to share knowledge on all these materials for its use in several industries. Then in the field of value chains and businesses, this block, we could say that is kind of particular in this field of resilient industries. It encompasses the element of circular value chains, as we will see at least on this first part of the working program, focuses mostly on composites and their circularity, and then a second block focusing on the resilience and the business development of SMEs and startups. These are usually coordination and support actions for the support to these kind of businesses. Here you can see the budget allocation. Calls are done in a single phase. And of course, there's a clear leadership in terms of raw materials. Green, sustainables, and then others. As I said, and this is part of the resilience component, this topic is open until January the 25th. This topic has a 10 million euros allocation, and 2.5 million are expected to be allocated for each project. In this case, it's called Social and Affordable Housing District Demonstrator. The idea is to create demonstrators at a neighborhood or district level. Here you have the link to the framework that is the goal of this topic. And in this case, we are talking about January the 25th. We are not talking about March, as in other calls. This one is much closer. And then, in the field of circular value chains, there's just one topic called circular low emissions value chains through digitalization. This focuses on several elements. Also, the circular transformation of materials and composites. In terms of raw materials, the expectation is to contribute to ensure the supply of raw materials in a sustainable way, and also to research and innovate along the value chain of raw materials. Here you see the list of topics that you will find on the 2022 call. There are deep sea activities, or the extractive life cycle in protected areas through an CSA, also the development of digital platforms for the small-scale extractive industries, and also the tracking of raw material flows in complex supply chains. There is also a blog, as you can see on the screen, on the innovative mine of the future. Also, a topic on the recovery of mineral and metal byproducts. And a last one focusing on the observation of the Earth to observe the life cycles of mining. This is what we will find on the 2022 call. As you can see, these are broad topics that cover the whole phase chain within in the field of raw materials. Moving to sustainable by design, as we said, the idea is to improve from the design stage of materials. The idea is to improve the life cycle to have a lesser impact. You can see the different topics that you will find here. Materials for nanoelectronic components, lightweight materials for energy-efficient structures. Also, composites are also here. Multifunctional biomaterials, or organic and hybrid coatings. In terms of materials, for the benefit of society and the environment, we see biomaterials, as well as the need of developing membranes, and also materials for a better use of resources in terms of energy, and materials for supercapacitors. The last two blocks focus on materials and data cross-cutting actions, including activities like modeling, characterization, the optimization through the digitalization, and also open innovation test beds. And in the field of businesses, SMEs and startups, there are two topics focusing on these technologies. As I said at the beginning, there is a topic in this field which focuses on pre-commercial procurement, that is, innovative pre-commercial procurement specifically. So if you are interested, we are here at your disposal to support you. As my colleague Enrique said before, here you can find all the information through the events portals and also at the Horizon Europe website. You can subscribe to our RSS to receive the alerts about everything that we publish on the Horizon Europe website in Spanish. Until March, and as Gabriela said this morning, from November the 30th to December the 1st, we will have the informative days on Cluster 4. We will launch calls for our National Info Day, and we will also participate in all events at regional level with autonomous regions in Spain, like today. Also pay attention to possible workshops and events which come in handy to find new partners and to work on components in different fields. As you know, the submissions for this program have changed a lot. It includes some gender impact components and also other components. I've run out of time, so I'm going to finish. Here is the support team for Class 4, Nieves González as the representatives representative of the program team, myself as well. And well, I hope that this has been useful for you. I would like to thank the organizers, and that's everything I wanted to say. Thank you very much.